Some people claim that the Velvet Underground were almost as influential as the Beatles. And of course, it wasn't just Bowie who was inspired by them, and he was obsessed with Warhol. You could say that the whole punk rock movement that emerged in the 70s owed a massive debt to Warhol's factory scene as well.
Andy had come a long way from Pittsburgh. He'd realised his dreams and become an American icon in his own right. But he was about to learn for himself the price of celebrity.
In June 1968, a mentally unstable young feminist called Valerie Solanas, who'd actually appeared in one of Andy's films and was the founder and sole member of SCUM, or the Society for Cutting Up Men, arrived at the factory with 2 guns hidden in a brown paper bag. She shot Andy, almost killing him. As he later said, he was just in the wrong place at the right time.
It's ironic that throughout his career, Andy had been fascinated by violent death. He'd even created an entire series exploring the subject, known as the Death and Disaster paintings.
This one, from 1963, is one of the best of the lot. It shows a gruesome tabloid photograph of a car crash repeated 14 times. The first thing that hits you is its unflinching, in-your-face power. The repeated images have this jittery quality, like film rushing through a camera. It gives a sense of speed, of action unfolding, a sense of time. Look closely. You can see a corpse slumped in the passenger seat. It's horrible and completely at odds with the jaunty orange background.
And I'm stepping on the devil's tail across the stripes of a full moon's head.
So was Andy being heartless? I don't think so, just honest. I think he's trying to tell us something fundamental about our times. The power of this painting is in the repetition. Andy wanted to imitate what he saw happening in newspapers and on television, that unending flow of news reports covering all sorts of catastrophes, not just car crashes, but plane disasters, suicides. Andy was completely mesmerised by the footage showing President Kennedy at the moment of his death, which was repeatedly played on national television. And he was right to be. Nearly 40 years on, think of the footage of the planes going into the Twin Towers. It was replayed on our television screens again and again and again.
As always, Andy refused to talk about the meaning behind these works. He'd just say, "Oh, they're about nothing," leaving it to art critics like me to argue that the car crashes and electric chairs are serious comments on our time. Actually, I think the Death and Disaster paintings are his best work, and they've become incredibly valuable. In 2007, Warhol's Green Car Crash sold for $72 million. Art and money have always gone hand in hand, but Andy's behaviour in later life made some question whether for him it was just about the money.
Andy's own personal disaster, shooting of 68s, has an incredibly profound effect on him. Afterwards, he was completely transformed as an artist. He smartened up his entourage and became brazenly interested in making as much money as he possibly could. He even said, in 1975, that good business is the best art.
For the next 20 years, everything became business. Andy became a professional partygoer, a shameless stalwart of the celebrity circuit. He had a TV chat show and joined a model agency, became court painter to the rich and famous, and appeared in everything from Japanese TV commercials to pop videos. And he even launched a celebrity magazine called Interview. It's still going strong today. It was the precursor to celeb gossip mags like Hello, Heat and OK. All this makes many wonder whether Warhol's art was ever a comment on celebrity and consumer culture, or just a part of it. But others, like Nick Cullinan from the Tate Gallery, believe even Andy's TV ads should be seen as art.
The turning point for Warhol was the shooting, wasn't it? I mean, can you give me a bit of a sense of the scope of what he was doing later in his life in the 70s and the 80s?
Well, I think throughout the 70s and the 80s you see a widening in his practice. So he picks up making paintings again, but he does that alongside making films, but then dabbling in a whole realm of activities.
What's he doing here? Is this an ad?
This is his ad for TDK, the tape firm that he made for Japan. And so you see him performing his trademark Warhol persona with the fright wig, this kind of deadpan persona.
Aka. Midori.
What's this doing in an art gallery? Because, you know, there are ads on telly the whole time, but we don't privilege them and say, well, this is a work of art. Why is this one a work of art?
Well, this one's special because this is an artist making an ad for telly. And the thing is that we wanted to show his paintings, his works of art that you see there, for example, alongside these activities.
Kyodei.
And what do you say to people who might be a bit like, oh, God, isn't this the Emperor's New Clothes? I mean, come on. I can see how a painting's a work of art or a sculpture, but TV ads, you probably got a big check for doing that.
You probably got a bigger check for the painting.
Well, that's true.
I think the thing is that perhaps we move beyond the idea that artists can only make paintings or artists have to be sincere, they have to suffer. Artists can now, thanks to Warhol, inhabit a whole different realm of activities and personas, so that's what we wanted to look at.
I think that's Andy Warhol's indisputable legacy. He threw open the doors, and now, in art, anything goes. He may indeed have sold out in later life and bought into the celebrity circus, and you can even question his motivations. But there's no denying the incredible impact his work has had on our modern world. One person who's never doubted Warhol's brilliance is the movie star Dennis Hopper, a lifelong friend. Hopper's a keen artist as well as an actor, and I've come to meet him at an exhibition of his paintings and photographs. Dominating the room is Hopper's painting of Andy, and alongside is a collection of intimate photographs from the factory days.
Okay, so this is Andy, Gregory Markopoulos, Taylor Mead, Gerald Malangan, Jack Smith.
I mean, why was he so drawn to doing this thing of, you know...
The repetition.
Yeah.
Our media, with all the media that we have today, it is like repetition. Exactly. Especially now that we have 24-hour news, man. I mean, how many times can Michael Jackson die? You know? I mean, it's just on and on and
but
on.
Andy, if he were alive, he'd be making work about that, wouldn't
right,
he? I mean,
exactly.
that would be his big
be
thing.
Repetitive. Repetitive images.
But, you know, we're talking about whether he's a prophet. I mean, you know, to me, that seems like he really is looking forward and foretelling what's going to happen. He understood how the media culture works.
I don't think art is so much about foretelling what's going to happen as it is recording your own time and what's happening in your time. And maybe when I say, Deschamps said that the artist of the future will be a person who points his finger, he won't be a painter, and he'll say that's art, and it'll be art. It doesn't matter how it gets on the canvas or how it gets there. That the artist says it's art. Now, how do you become an artist?
Yeah.
Well, okay. But Andy was an artist.
Yeah.
And so, and to me, he did finger point our society. The soup can, the cartoon, the disasters, the electric chair, our morals. I mean, everything is like, you know, pretty much our consumer reality. It's all in Andy's work.
In 1986, Andy created quite a sombre series of self-portraits that lots of people describe as looking a bit like death masks. And he did die the following year, just from a routine operation. He was only 58. But, you know, for me, Andy completely redefined the role of the artist. Just look at what he achieved, and you see that he genuinely changed art forever. He told us that, you know, something like a portrait can tell us as much about ourselves, about our own obsessions and desires, about our media-saturated age, as it could about the sitter. Or he took things, really banal, humble objects like a can of tomato soup or a Brillo box, the kind of stuff you pick up in a supermarket, and made it question the very nature of art. He took art out of the gallery and into the world around us, into so many different fields like music or film or publishing even. And in doing that, he freed up other artists to do exactly the same. And of course, more than any other artist, Andy Warhol was obsessed with pointing out how much we're enthralled to celebrity. He told us who we are and what we would become, and showed us that art can illuminate these things. He was pointing the finger at all of us.
If you'd like to find out more about the art and the influence of Matisse, Picasso, Dali and Warhol, then go online to bbc.co.uk/modern